Welcome back to our series on the new code of professional practice. In this session, we're focusing on personal development, which includes competence, reflection, and continuing professional development. And I'm joined for this session again by Nick Jones, Chief Executive and Registrar at the GCC, and Andrew Fielding, Policy and Insights Officer. Welcome back to you both.
Thank you.
Good to see you again, Julia.
You too. So, Nick, can you set the scene for us with regards to professional standards?
A chiropractor's registration is an indication of their achievement of high professional standards. But professionalism is a lifelong journey. So just as the code reflects changes in evidence, the evidence base, standards, and the expectations of care, then it's so important that a chiropractor reflects on those things themselves. And I think what we're doing to a large extent is restating the importance of things like professional curiosity, their professional development, and the importance of reflection on their own care.
So the code being updated to reflect evolving expectations and evidence and demands is kind of symbolic of what you talk about when it comes to professionalism or even competence, that it's not static.
Yeah, absolutely. Chiropractors talk about chiropractic being a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
And the code just reflects that. It's that idea that you are always looking to just keep moving forward, looking for those new opportunities to improve the care, improve the safety, improve how you do things, learn something new, find something out different. That's what will make you a fantastic clinician. That's what makes you a great chiropractor. And that's what we want to reflect in the code.
One thing that has remained a constant in the code is CPD and the presence of it. It's always been central to professional registration. What has changed within that, though, in the new code?
I think there's a bit more of a focus on that idea of reflection. It's taking time out of your practice, and we know how busy chiropractors are, but it's just taking a moment to think, oh, that was something different, that was something a bit unusual. What can I learn from that? And how can I take that learning back into my everyday practice? So reflection is really it's such a important skill for a chiropractor to have, whether that is reflecting on a new piece of evidence, new piece of research, or just their own understanding and their own experiences of providing that care.
Simply stated, I think what I want to promote is to see CPD as an opportunity rather than a kind of an obligation because the regulator says you have to do it.
Right.
And there are different ways of approaching continuous professional development. We know this, but I think something about being a little more conscious about looking for where are those opportunities, as Nick said. What are the areas where you may not have had so much experience recently? You're looking for something different to do, but planning the direction of travel. Where do you want to go as a professional? What's the sort of end goal? Almost in the same way as when you're working with a patient, you're looking at where do you want to get to. It's the same for your own development.
And I get the sense that you're encouraging diversity of thought, diversity of opportunities, look for things you didn't know about before and try to develop those areas too.
Yeah, because it can be so easy to I'll just book a course. But actually, is that right for you? Is that what you need? Is that what's going to help you?
Is that going to improve care? Is it going to improve your own growth? And is it going to give you professional fulfillment?
Okay. Can I dig into this word reflection? That seems to come up a lot in the way that you speak about the code and the code itself. Share a little bit more about what that looks like in practice.
There are lots of different models for reflection. It could be having a conversation with a peer. It could be having a conversation with somebody else in the clinic, asking them for their advice or viewpoint on a particular situation. It could be having that conversation with yourself. It's really helpful sometimes just to document actually the situation and then what did you learn from it. We've produced toolkits and guidance around reflection, but it's a personal practice around considering particular circumstances or a particular piece of evidence or learning or whatever it might be, and understanding what that means to you and your everyday practice. So how do you take those academic learnings or those pieces of knowledge back into the practical care that you're delivering?
I do my best reflection on an early morning run.
Nice. Okay.
Wherever it works for you.
Yeah, that is totally up to the individual. Perfect, thank you. Well, the code also talks about recognising when you need help and support. So it's not just about patient care, self-care too. Can you share a bit more about what the code talks about there?
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken in one of the other videos about the importance of looking after yourself, because you cannot care for somebody else if you're not caring for yourself. So there's a piece about reflecting on your own circumstances personally, and actually, do you need a bit of advice or a bit of help or support in that way, and going out and seeking that. But then professionally as well, the variance and the joy of chiropractic is that every patient is different. And if you come across a circumstance where you're not confident, where you think, well, I really don't know what's going on here, that's the opportunity to go out, seek some advice, speak to other people. If you're a member of a professional association or the Royal College, go out and look for that help, whether that's in the moment or whether that's after the fact. You provide care to the best of your ability and going, well, I think there's more I could do there. Actually going out, finding that information, doing the research. It's that professional curiosity that Nick referred to. That's so important, and it will just help you grow as a chiropractor and as a professional so much.
Okay, let's now look at some frequently asked questions that we get from chiropractors and those in the community about personal development within the new code. And you gents have got the new code in front of you, so you can refer to it.
Indeed.
We are sending this to all registered chiropractors within the GCC, correct?
Yep,
Correct.
early in the new year, they'll be sent over. You'll get one in the post.
Right, so it's a handy reference point. It is all very clearly laid out, and I'm sure we'll refer to it just now. The first FAQ I want to ask you is, what counts as CPD? Is it very specific? Or for instance, if a chiropractor or a professional within this space went to a conference and learnt lots at the conference, met lots of people, would that count?
Well, like I said before, let's see CPD as an opportunity, not an obligation.
Right.
So it rather depends. So if you went to that conference and it prompted reflective practice, it prompted you to think about the way in which you provide care, the way in which you relate to others perhaps, then yes, that's been a good opportunity to continually develop. If on the other hand, it didn't sing to you, you weren't inspired by the conference, or you took the opportunity to have a bit of a doze during parts of it, then no, it doesn't really count, does it?
Okay, understood. What about yourself, Andrew? Your perspective on what counts as CPD? Is there anything that perhaps people wouldn't think about but actually is mentioned?
There's so often we have chiropractors saying to us, oh, I've got to do a course. And there are so many other ways of doing CPD and reflecting on what's going on, what's happening in your practice, seeking feedback, analysing information about your practice. This is right here in the code. It's that idea of always looking for, what can I do differently? What can I improve? How can I change? And sometimes those changes will work, but sometimes they won't. That's still development. It's still understanding a little bit more about your practice and why you do something the way you do it.
And how can chiropractors show that they are maintaining competence beyond their CPD record?
I think that there's something in the records they keep, and actually, individual patient records. Those should not only explain what you've done, but also the thinking behind it. If there's something that is slightly unusual, or why have you done it this way? If it's going to come under question for you in the future, you think, oh, why did I do that? Write it down. That shows that reflection. That shows that development that you're going through, and it is just a case of looking out for those opportunities all the time.
I mean, we recognise it's a tricky concept, reflective practice. So if everybody's struggling with it, then speak to your colleagues, speak to your employer, encourage others to develop new ways to think reflectively, because it is somewhat challenging.
And that's something that's actually new within this code, is that responsibility on you to kind of help others to develop. It's that
Create the environment.
Create the environment.
Yeah.
That sort of leadership and contributing to whether it's mentoring, teaching, training, just having a peer-to-peer conversation, whatever it might be, just that expectation that you'll have those sorts of conversations to benefit both chiropractors involved, or even speaking with other professionals outside of chiropractic. There's always something to learn.
So CPD can mean the self, but it can also mean developing those around you. And
Absolutely,
others.
yes, yeah.
Okay, understood. I'm thinking about chiropractic professionals in their day-to-day busy lives, busy clinics, lots of patients and lots of things going on. What's your advice to chiropractors who listen to this and think, I don't know if I've got time for reflective practices and for CPD?
One chiropractor I was speaking to listens to podcasts in the car, and that's the time that they take to, they've got a half-hour commute to their clinic, and that's the time they just take to keep up to speed with what's going on in the profession. Because that's the other thing, the profession is always moving forward. Public expectation, patient expectation, technology is always moving forward. As everything is, the landscape around the chiropractor is changing, so we need the chiropractor to keep moving forward themselves.
Yeah, easy to say, much more difficult to do, but
Absolutely.
I emphasise the importance of seeing it as an opportunity rather than an obligation. If you can keep that in your mind, then it'll seem less burdensome.
And I think we've talked a lot about chiropractors in clinical practice, but we've got to recognise that chiropractors work in research, they work in teaching. There are all sorts of roles that chiropractors fulfil, and this applies right across whatever role you are undertaking as a chiropractor. It's still important to be reflecting on your practice, whatever that practice looks like.
You talk about how impactful it can be to see a speaker who really inspires you or to challenge the status quo. But when you talk about peer-to-peer discussion or accountability or challenging each other in these one-to-one discussions, for example, what are the benefits of that? What are the impacts of that?
You've got to have an honest conversation there. That's really, really key.
And tough.
And tough, yeah. It can be a very difficult conversation to have, particularly if you feel something didn't go quite as you would like it to. You're admitting to having doubts or having concerns about your practice. So there is within the whole profession, there's a need for people to be supportive and understanding and to help develop each other in that way.
An overused cliche is that feedback is a gift, but it's true. To go to the trouble of giving someone some clear and honest feedback has such a powerful impact.
Yeah.
And it'll benefit you individually, but it also benefits the whole of the profession. And that's a cliche as well, but it's so true.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, thank you for answering those FAQs for me. And just before we say goodbye, what would be one key takeaway that you want to leave us with on this topic of personal development?
For me, growth is continuous, and curiosity and self-awareness matter.
Great. Andrew?
And I think for me, it's been purposeful in your CPD and looking for relevant CPD and reflecting on it.
Great. Well, thank you. And it was great to see you using the code physically as a point of reference, which is of course available in hard copy to everybody registered with the GCC. So thank you for showcasing us that. And you can find the full code of professional practice on our website too at gcc-uk.org. The GCC newsletter will continue to share updates to help you prepare for the new code, and you'll be able to find supporting content and guidance on our social media channels. Thank you so much, gents, for your insight, and thank you for watching.